Our Inspirational Indie Authors podcast stream is proudly sponsored by Book Vault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with Book Vault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. I'm Howard Lovy, Content and Communications Manager at the Alliance of Independent Authors and book editor at howardlovy.com. And you're listening to Inspirational Indie Authors. Every episode, I interview an ALLi member to find out what inspires them and how they are an inspiration to other authors. My guest this episode is Dawn Brookes, a British writer of cozy mysteries and a former nurse who worked in healthcare for nearly 40 years. After retiring from nursing, Dawn began writing full-time, drawing on her extensive experience to create rich characters and engaging stories. Dawn uses her life experiences to fuel her writing and is indie because it allows her to connect with readers and build a fan base. I'll let Dawn Brookes tell her story.
Hi, my name's Dawn Brookes. I'm currently a cozy mystery writer, and I have 3 series on the go at the moment, with the most popular being the Rachel Prince mystery series, but the other 2 are fast catching up as I add more books to them.
Let's take us back to the beginning. Where did you grow up, and has writing and reading always been a part of your life?
Yeah, I grew up in Leicester in the Midlands. That's Midlands of England, UK. And I moved to London when I was early 20s and stayed in the South for over 20 years. I've always read ever since I can remember. I used to read with a torch under the pillows, under the covers, initially with Enid Blyton, Famous Five books, and then I read throughout my nursing career, obviously as time allowed me to,
Right.
because that was sometimes a bit tricky because I had to read a lot of textbooks as well. But yeah, reading, and I'd always written as well, but not professionally, obviously.
So why did you choose nursing as a career at first?
That's an interesting question. It wasn't my choice initially. When I left school, I just had to work actually, because my parents couldn't afford to send me to university. So I took a job doing all sorts of things. And I happened to move to Norfolk for a short time with a friend and met she was older than me. I was 17, she was 29. She wasn't old. And she had started her nursing training, but never finished it because she got ill and had to leave. And she was constantly saying, you should be a nurse, you should be a nurse. And I was thinking, I didn't even really know much about nursing. But anyway, as fate would have it, I applied when I moved back to Leicester from Norfolk, I applied to do nursing whilst doing other jobs. I was a commie chef for a while, and I managed to get in. And actually, although it wasn't a vocation, it wasn't something I dreamt of doing since owning my first doll. I took to it like a duck to water and loved it, and had a very fruitful career, which I loved mostly up until the last couple of years when I was ready to leave, really.
So that, I'm sure, brought you into contact with a lot of different kinds of people. Did that come in handy later when you started inventing characters?
I met people from all walks of life, as you can imagine, from the very down-to-earth to the very posh, people with huge careers and other people with more practical careers, and characters. So loads of different characters, different personality disorders, mental health problems, etc. And a lot of that does come into my writing because I can remember snippets, various characters that stick out in my mind, and yeah, they do feature.
So you spent how many years as a nurse?
39 years, just short of 40.
Wow. So you mentioned toward the end of your career, you wanted to get out. Was there anything specifically that kind of soured you on it, or it was just time to retire?
A bit of both. I think the politics in I'm sure the healthcare in America is the same, but UK politics is like a political football, and the NHS is features as that football, and depending on who's in government, they reinvent the wheel again and again. But also, I think I was pretty much burnt out. I'd given an awful lot of myself, both emotionally and physically. And it's not, I don't think it's a job that some people seem to be able to do it for 50, 60 years, but it was time for, I always said if I stopped loving it, I would, and I stopped loving it. I fell out of love with it, so I left.
Now, meanwhile, during your career, did you always have a kind of a manuscript in your desk drawer, or did that come later?
No, that came later. Time didn't allow me to write a lot of, not to write it. I did write, I wrote a few plays, actually. I was part of a church for a long time, and I wrote the odd play that we performed as part of Christmas events and various youth clubs, and wrote a youth play, that kind of thing. So I did write a bit, and I wrote a few children's stories, which I sort of performed in church for Sunday schools and that kind of thing. But no great manuscript. And actually, although I'd always wanted to be the Enid Blyton in my head, I never wrote anything with mystery until I retired.
How did you make that transition, and why?
What happened is, just not long before I retired, I wrote a memoir of my nurse training because I wanted to go back to the good times and remember those. And so that got me back into writing, and I ended up writing 3 memoirs about different aspects of my training over those first few years in the late 1970s, early 80s, and I self-published those. And then I just decided it was time to write the mystery that was all. I thought it was going to be a thriller, but I don't like gore. I have read thrillers and I don't mind watching them on TV, but it wasn't something that I wanted to write. I had no idea what a cozy mystery was, but I wrote a mystery that I would like to read. And it was based on a cruise ship, because by that time I was cruising once or twice a year, once a year. And I thought that'd be a great place to place mysteries.
Just to define for our listeners, tell us what a cozy mystery is.
Okay, there's a bit of a variation, but there are certain things that cozy mystery readers expect. So they expect it to be clean. They expect no swearing, no graphic violence, and no sex on the page. And usually the murder happens off the page as well. So there's lots of things about reader expectation, but it's more, I would say it's more character driven, because you have to invest, because you haven't got the scary bits that are going to keep people turning the pages. You have mystery that keeps people turning the pages, and characters and suspects. So it's about building up suspects, laying out red herrings. Your sleuth generally is an amateur. Most cozy mysteries are set within a confined place, like a village or a shop or a tea shop. In my case, it's a cruise ship. They can be like holiday destinations, bed and breakfast, anything like that. And then they can vary from the absolutely ridiculous, where the animal is the investigator, to the more serious, but still with an element of humor type, which is what the type I think I write.
So they're very much character driven, and you had a lot of characters in your head from your nursing career, I bet.
Yes. Initially, it was about coming up with my protagonist. And then, as in terms of suspects, and more recently, I've been writing a series featuring an octogenarian and her 3 friends who are also in their 80s. And for that series in particular, a lot of memories are coming back, and I combine them to make characters. Obviously not a character, but I use various facets of people I've met in the past. And certainly the medical part, that features quite heavily in the Rachel Prince mysteries because her sidekick is a
Ah,
nurse on the cruise
mhm.
ship. That's how she gets inside information.
They're medically accurate mysteries too, right?
I try and make them all medically accurate, but the cruise ship ones perhaps feature a little bit more on the medical side, and the others more on the mystery and character
Right.
aspects. But yeah, I do try and keep them all medically accurate, and obviously my knowledge helps in that aspect.
So this is a second career for you. Why did you choose to do it on your own rather than through a traditional publisher?
I never even considered a traditional publisher. Initially, what happened is I read a lot, and I happened to see a book by some guy who was self-published. I can't even remember his name, to be honest. And I read this book and I thought, oh, that's an interesting view of things that you can do it by yourself. Initially, I only intended to write the memoir for posterity, not really to make money or earn a living from. That's how I did it. And then I remember sending my manuscript to Debbie Young from the Alliance of Independent
Hmm.
Authors. And she obviously was kind enough to read the memoir. And then she encouraged me to join the Alliance of Independent Authors. And basically, once I joined that organization and saw lots of people were doing self-publishing and I studied a lot more, that was definitely fitted in well for me at that
Hmm.
time.
And I know I know Debbie well. She's also queen of the cozy mysteries as well. She's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, she does write
Yeah.
cozy. Yes, she does write cozies.
So when it comes to building your own fan base, how do you do that?
Obviously, it takes time, doesn't it? Initially, it was all about offering books for reviews, word of mouth. I set up similar to Debbie, and Debbie advised me on it. I set up a local literature festival, which got my name out there locally. That sort of died during COVID, but that was a good way to start. And then as people started reading the books, I use Story Origin to connect with other authors and mailing lists and share promotions and that kind of thing. And then I've used book sweeps a bit to do the same. So I built up a mailing list myself, and every time I put a new book out, I seem to get more and more readers. I've got an active Facebook private group as well as my Facebook
Hmm.
page. So yeah, it's taken time, but I noticed a big difference after book 5 in the Rachel Prince mysteries, and then there was a bit of a leap, and people started contacting me, including digital publishers that were starting out at the
Oh,
time.
good. So you've built a personal relationship with your fan base. Do you communicate a lot with them? Do they give you feedback?
They do. I've got a beta team that do really in-depth feedback, and then I've got an ARC team who also give feedback. As I say, I've got a private group, and they are quite chatty. We don't just talk about my books; we talk about
Hmm.
cruises and all sorts of things. But yeah, some of them I would say have become not friends because I've never met them, but friends as in online friends. And yeah, we're quite a chatty group, and I send a weekly. I've got two newsletter groups, a weekly one and a monthly one. It was their choice which they joined, and I get a lot of emails back from readers that way as
Hmm.
well.
It's great. So yeah, I'm glad to see that one of your book series has you call it a series of or featuring a feisty gang of octogenarians. So it's good to
Yeah.
see older characters in books. Do you think that's important?
I do actually. I mean, I in my latter, obviously in nursing, you meet a lot of older people
Hmm.
anyway. But in my latter years, I was a community matron dealing with mostly the people I was dealing with then were at least 80 up to 100 and odd. And they have so much to offer society if society would let
Hmm.
us. So, yeah, featuring Lady Marjorie actually was a fictional character that I used to talk to. Best friend sadly lost her husband, and she was left raising a couple of children, eight and six. And I got quite friendly with the kids as well. And I used to make this woman up, Lady Marjorie, about their table manners. And it was a standing joke that if Lady Marjorie saw them eating, she wouldn't be very happy. And I couldn't take them around there for dinner unless they improved. And it was just light-hearted fun. So she actually features in the first Rachel Prince mystery, and then people loved her so much that I thought I had to give her own series, and that's where that idea came from.
So it sounds like you've successfully started your, I don't know if they call it a second act or a third act or what the cliche is, but do you have any advice for other authors who are maybe ending another career and want to do what you're doing?
Yeah, I think you've got to love, you probably know how you're a writer. I think you've got to love it, and then you've got to know why you're doing it, whether you're doing it to actually earn a living, just write for fun, write for posterity, like I started doing. So it's important, I think, to define where it is you want to go with it. And then once you've decided that if you're able to write, you can either do a writing course or just start writing, get feedback from people, and then take it from there, really. There's no holding anybody back. If you want to make a second career, even a third career, there are writers in there who have started writing in their 80s and are doing quite well at it. There's no age barrier. And there's no background barrier. In fact, I would say use your life experiences to write whatever it is you want to write, be that fiction or non-fiction. Obviously, writing in series helps if you want to build an income from it and earn a living.
So what about the future? Are you going to continue in this vein, or are there any other genres you want to try to tackle?
I don't think I've thought about clean romance a few times, but I don't think it's me, really. No, I like the mystery genre, and I like the ability to be able to, you can create different series, different characters. I've got an idea in mind for a completely different character, actually a nursing character, because obviously that's my background. And I think that would be quite fun to do at some stage when I get more time. But for now, yeah, just carry on writing the three series. To be honest, the cruise ship mystery series I thought was going to be about 3 or 4 books, and then people would get sick to death of it. And I thought I might as well. But amazingly, they just want more and more every time. I've only just published a book, and people are asking for the next one. Yeah, that's good. And that series has been sold to a Japanese publisher, first couple of books, so that'll be out in Japan in a couple of years' time. And the Lady Marjorie series, the Octogenarian series, that's just been signed up by a German publisher, so that'll be in Germany soon.
Oh, wonderful. So you're getting translation rights all over the world.
Yeah, I've just started. I wouldn't say all over the world, but potentially it'd be nice. There are still quite a few European languages to go. So, yeah, selling translation rights has always been a desire. The past couple of years has been something I wanted to do.
Wonderful. Sounds like you're on your way to world domination.
No, not quite. I met a few people in my career who wanted to do world domination.
I'll bet. Yeah. So that's all I have. Is there anything else that you want to add that I didn't ask?
No, I think that's been an interesting insight, really. You've made me think of a few things, actually. Why did I start in the first place? Where do I want to go? Because obviously, I don't see myself retiring. And I think that was it when I stopped nursing, or that when I started, you could retire quite young. So I left about when I was 55. But I can't see myself wanting to retire and not do this. I probably would want to slow down in maybe 10 years' time.
Yeah, that's what I always say. I don't know what retirement is. I'll die at my keyboard.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate you appearing on the show. You've been listening to Inspirational Indie Authors. I'm Howard Lovy, Content and Communications Manager at the Alliance of Independent Authors and book editor at howardlovy.com. This podcast stream is proudly sponsored by Book Vault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with BookVault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. If you are a member of ALLi and would like to be considered for the show, please write to me at howard@allianceindependentauthors.org and tell me what inspires you and how you can inspire other authors. As always, find more author advice, tips, and tools at our Self-Publishing Advice Center, selfpublishingadvice.org. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.